Hello, and welcome to the first Nerd BS that we've done in a while, episode 27. It's been a while. We've been very busy. And if Kyle does end up listening to this, because he won't be here tonight, we want to say congratulations again. And hopefully everything is going smooth because not only has they've had a new child, but now he has a new potential career moving forward. And he will be coming back, but for now, we're going to let him continue his hiatus, but it's been too long, so we decided to push on. And I do have Tomas with us. So how you doing, Tomas?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I'm tired. I'm happy for Kyle though. So actually, let me start with that. Congratulations, Kyle. Great news, man, about the career and about the family. So good on you, man. And yeah, I'm doing good and I'm glad to be back.
Excellent. And I don't even know if I said that I'm Alan, but if you didn't know that, well, you probably knew here. And welcome. I hope you are. That'd be awesome. But we do have a special guest tonight. One of our buddies that we've known for a long time, Brian over here, has decided to try to fill in some big shoes. So good luck, Brian. How you doing over there?
I'm doing pretty good. I don't know if I can quite fit into Kyle's shoes. I'm thankful though as well that he's doing good. You know, that new career path and that baby, taken care of. Congratulations, Kyle, and thank you again, Alan, for introducing me. I'm happy to be here. Happy to be a guest on Nerd BS.
Excellent. I'm glad you could join us as well. Let's go through a couple of socials real quick just to get this out of the way. If you want to contact us all, we have our email at nerdbackstory@gmail.com, our Twitter at nerd_BS, my personal Twitter at scadmatrix, our YouTube. If you're there, you'll see the link in the description. And if you contact us anywhere, those places and want to join our Discord, feel free to ask, and we'll let you in, and we can discord all the nerdy stuff we talk about. Um, we have a couple little topics tonight, but I think we're going to take this chance as a couple D&D players. We actually all three play in a game together on Thursdays, and we also have our own little games on the sides and things like that. So Kyle doesn't play D&D, so we usually don't focus too much on it. But today that's going to change. But that'll be after a couple news stories. So I hope y'all are excited. So we'll move on forward as we step into the realm of movies. I just wanted to bring it up because we do talk about movies a lot. Usually we're pretty on point with it, but once movies started going back to theaters, I know myself stopped going. I haven't gone to a movie in the theater since Black Widow, I think. But I haven't seen anything. But I think Brian over here actually saw Ten Rings. So, what do you think about that, Brian? I know it's a little old at this point,
I
but
really
yeah, how
go ahead.
did you like it?
It was really fun. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Um, and funny story, actually, my through my brother's marriage, my brother-in-law was there too, so we caught up a little bit after the movie. But the movie itself was very enjoyable. It tied in the characters. You felt like immersion. Um, I felt like from the beginning, and then as the story goes on, like you're seeing the action and the adventure, and you're getting to have that connection kind of as the story unfolds. So I guess the best way to try to explain it would be like in the Hobbit, you have the characters and you're tied into Frodo as he gets the ring, and so the main character kind of as he finally gets his hands on the rings, like he's definitely excited. It's a new experience for him, and so you can kind of like feel that experience with him, and then they definitely have fantasy creatures and elements, and they definitely tie into the traditions. I feel like I'm not a history buff, but I really enjoyed it.
That's cool.
And
And
Yeah.
I saw some trailers. Did the original Mandarin from Iron Man 3, which I know we love on this cast. It is probably one of the
Woo!
better of the MCU movies, right?
Woo!
But uh
It's hot in here.
But I
That
think
was the best cameo experience. Go ahead.
the actor who plays the Mandarin, right? I think he shows up in it, which I think I had a hint about it, but then I started seeing the trailers with him in it, and I was like, hey, I kind of was right because they were feeding me he has a little mini show on Disney Plus that's
Yeah,
it's a little interesting, what, 12
I've
minutes,
I've
but
thought
it's
about
fun.
seeing it. It's good to be the king, right? With Ben
Yeah, it's good to be the
Kingsley.
king. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, him and there's his counterpart, like his best friend in the show. They're both the comic relief in the story, and so it's really funny too because the way they introduce him, like the Mandarin character, it's just it's so good. And they like kind of like it took a while, but they finally bring back that whole hey, this is why I was here as a bad guy kind of situation, and they kind of
Yeah,
like
yeah.
definitely play a lot lot more on that. Like you get to
I think
understand.
Man.
it's really cool just because I mean, I had a feeling that like this Iron Man 3 and Hulk and Dark World, I think, get the worst raps in the MCU. And it always feels like those specific movies are kind of neglected in being mentioned at all. It always feels like they're like the dark cousins or whatever, twice removed, that we just kind of hopefully forget about. But then this one kind of brings back that we it kind of brings back some elements of Iron Man 3. So
Yeah,
it was kind of cool that we just mentioned it.
I don't know. It's almost like you're giving Schumacher the reins of another Batman movie. I mean, it's like comedy all back to back, and I mean, what's next? Iron Man's gonna
it
have
could
Iron
work.
Man nipples. Like, I mean,
Hey,
like
this iron
It,
nipples probably wouldn't
no,
be a problem.
no. I'll watch it. I'll watch it. I'm a bit concerned after you say that though, Brian, because man, I'll tell you that was and Kyle and I have beat this to a pulp, so I'm not going to beat it here. But I just, it was just one of the shocks to me in Iron Man 3 that just kind of like when I saw Ben Kingsley
Yeah.
go from ruthless terrorist to comedy relief, I was just like, I don't know if I can handle it. But
right.
the fact that you say it's kind of right off the bat, I guess you have the set, what's going to happen with him. It's not like a sudden shock,
Yeah.
Right. And if anything too, like definitely they when they introduce him in the movie, he has like a sidekick of his own. And so it's really interesting because it's like this little fantasy creature is like with him and helping out the whole universe, helping out in the adventure, and connecting the dots like to the story as well. So they make the Mandarin a key element not only to this one, but it does, like Alan said, breathe in that life back to the Iron Man 3.
That's awesome. Well, I'll definitely have to check that one out, to be
Yeah,
honest. I really want to see it. That one
I
and
do.
Carnage have both been like really
Yeah.
like you're testing my drive to go to the theater there, Disney, because I really want
you
to see these. And
you
Widow just came out for on Disney Plus, by the way. So if
Oh,
you
nice.
didn't purchase it and you didn't want to go to see it in theaters, you can watch it now, and it's really good.
and it's
It's
better
still one
than
of my
Iron
favorites.
Man 3. So I
By
mean,
I will
like
definitely give you that, Tomas,
yeah.
because I loved Black Widow. So
It
I
was it
thought it
was
was one of the better of the MCU. But anyways, we'll move forward to video games here because we want to get to that D&D stuff. I just had one more thing that I really want to do because I got excited yesterday when I saw the announcement that my boy Sora, who I've loved that franchise for so long, has finally found their way back in Smash. He was also one of the top, if not the top, requested characters when they did their poll way back when Ultimate came out of who they want to add. And Sora was on there, and people were always speculating if he would be able to make it because he's partially owned by Disney and all sorts of nonsense. But he did make it, and I'm just excited. And I actually went out and purchased the second DLC pass just to be prepared for whenever he
Oh
comes out.
boy.
Yeah, I went all in, ready for this character, and I'm back into Smash for a bit. So I'm excited for that.
Man,
But
I haven't played Smash in a while. It is true. It
yeah,
is true.
it's a fun. Yeah.
Brian brought this up earlier. It is true that I used to play. I think the last Smash I played was on the Wii. right?
nice.
Yeah, I know I used to go around with Brawl
Yeah.
a lot, which was the one on the Wii.
Mm-hmm.
Because I loved that one, as even though it was not as good as the GameCube one and it had its faults.
Yeah,
I feel like it was still the Wii itself was fun, and so that was a decent. It was
yeah,
still a fun
yeah.
game.
I,
It was
my my favorite character in Smash is Ike. I like Ike. He's got the sword.
a
Uh,
He doesn't have as much reach, but he's fun.
yeah,
so
he's
so
a fun character.
my
That's awesome.
so I'm probably the cheater of the group because my favorite was Kirby. I loved Kirby because he came
And
back
nothing
from
wrong with
everything.
Kirby. Yeah, as the first thing,
Kirby is
whenever a
great.
character is announced, the first thing everybody wants is like, all right, well, what does it look like when Kirby has it? Like, what's the?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we care about, because you know he's gonna get his powers.
That's so
So
true.
which they did show us. We haven't shown us what Kirby looks like with the Keyblade. But yeah, my favorite is probably Young Link. Uh,
Mm,
and which was upsetting when they didn't bring him back, and they didn't bring him back for a while. I think he was in the GameCube one. I'm not sure if he was in Brawl. I know he wasn't an Ultimate at first, but then we got it. They brought him in, and I was because he was one of my favorites.
nice.
And I switched to Toon Link for a long time until they brought him back. Uh,
Yeah,
is
okay,
very
that's the one
simple for
I'm
me.
thinking of because I was like, "Are you sure we didn't have that?" Because I remember a little Link and we, but that must have been the
Yeah,
Toon Link,
they did
right?
have Toon Link, but I
Okay.
don't think they had Young Link. I think Toon Link replaced Young Link, and they were
Mm-hmm.
like, "Oh, nobody will notice," but I noticed. I noticed.
That's true. Wait a
But
minute.
anyway,
Change.
well, I like both of them. Don't get me wrong, because Toon Link's
Mm-hmm.
from Wind Waker, but Young Link is from Ocarina of Time, and since they changed Link to the Breath of the Wild Link, I have been feeling that I did feel that lack of Ocarina of
Mm-hmm.
Time representation. So Young Link being back is quite was quite nice for me. But either way, I think we can move on past the Smash discussion, and we'll head into our D&D discussion, our tabletop section that we have neglected for a lot of weeks now because there just hasn't been much. And part of the reason is because we can't get together for HeroClix. But fortunately, we have a bunch of D&D nerds here that would love to get a chance to talk about their favorite pastime. So we'll we'll start with just a little news before we get into just random nonsense and questions that I want to just ask you guys and do some conversation starters. But we did get a new module that came out on the beginning of this month, which actually completely skipped me because I forgot. I thought it was coming out later, and I just assumed that like because I pre-ordered it on D&D Beyond, so I didn't even know it came
Yeah.
out. And when I found out it came out
Huh.
is when your fiance
Joined.
Imogen, yeah, joined the game and she was a pixie or a
A
fairy. And I was
very,
like,
yeah.
wait a minute, that's not
Yeah.
released yet. And then I had to look it up because I was like, is he letting her use the UA one? And then I was like, oh, it was released. And I just I didn't notice. So then I got
Nice.
excited and started looking at the Harrington and things like that
Yeah.
and looking at the book. And it's a beautiful book. I haven't read it too much into it yet, primarily because I love modules and I love people running modules, but I
Mm-hmm.
am afraid that somebody's gonna be like, "Hey, I want to run this one," and I'll be like, "Oh crap, I already read it all, and I don't really want it now. I won't be
You know
Fair
spoiled.
what? I
enough.
I won't know. I won't be surprised anymore. The
Mm-hmm.
mystery will be gone." So I haven't
Yeah.
read too much, but have you guys looked at it all? At least the art's amazing, but I don't know if
So
you guys have
oh,
I
looked at it.
it is. Go ahead.
I I've looked at a little bit of it. Like I said, I did actually notice that the fairies were in the game. I haven't taken a look too much at the Harrington. I was excited about it and I debated because you know how we're gonna be starting in maybe a new session here soon.
Hmm.
When I'm done, I've debated about the next time I pick it up doing a Harrington, but I still think Leonin is next on my list right now. So I think I think Harrington's gonna have to take a step back.
Yeah.
But so I haven't seen it beyond the races. I'm curious if there's new
Well,
spells and
I'll go.
items or
There's not any new spells. There are. I don't. At least I don't think so. I could be mistaken, but I haven't seen any new spells yet. I know there's some new items. I know there's a bunch of new creatures. Uh,
oh, there's the fun
so
part.
yeah, there's a bunch of
Yeah.
new creatures, which is awesome. So I have that stuff, and there's a lot of ideas to be had about a lot of things to be learned about the Fey realm.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really cool.
Yeah.
There's
Um, so
there's
I
two
would look.
backstory. Go ahead, sorry.
Oh, there's been two
Go ahead.
backstories as well. That's cool as
Yeah,
well.
tied into the Fae,
Oh
the
yes,
Oh,
new.
I remember that. There was two backstories as well because I
oh
was looking
yeah.
at those a little while
That's
ago.
kind of
Yeah,
cool. I'm glad they finally added some backstory. I don't know about you guys. I like Magic. I really do. I still play it every now and then. I even got cards 3
oh
years
yeah,
ago. I got a big
Hmm.
box.
I'm a
Like
big
just
fan
cuz
too.
yeah,
Hmm.
just cuz I was like, you know what? I haven't bought Magic cards in a while. I'm going to get some Magic cards. And I fortunately have been able to curve my passion and refrain from buying more. But I did like when I saw D&D add the magic stuff to it, but I will say, man, I didn't like the backgrounds. I didn't like the all the Rakdos stuff and all the Guildgate stuff. It kind of felt overbearing. You know what I mean? Like there was just too
Yeah.
much.
Yeah,
There
there's
was
a lot
just
going
Yeah.
on sometimes. Go ahead.
Did you happen to look? I know this is kind of raying up the topic, but did you happen to look at the Forgotten Realms in Magic the Gathering at all? Did you happen to dig into that at all? Because that
so
came
I
out. That was the last
so
release, I think.
yeah, so I have played some of that, especially online.
Uh-huh.
They came out. The last one I played online was Strixhaven, which was very D&D related, but it was also kind of like Harry Potter-ish. Like
Yeah, this one was like
um
really focused in at least the Forgotten Realms, which was
yeah,
interesting.
but my fiance it plays more regularly than I do, and every now and then I get to I'll watch her playing, and she like they've come out with straight up beholder cards now.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
have
yeah.
what was another one that I saw that I really loved? Hold on, give me a
But
moment.
that
I'll
they had
remember it.
Dritz to Erden on there, which I
Yes,
know, and
that's
they,
what
Oh,
it
they
is.
really?
I think
And
they
they
had
had
Tiamat, I think, as well,
but
was in there.
they had Dritz, and at least in the art, it has his panther. I don't know if they actually have his
I don't think he
panther.
had a
Uh-huh.
separate one. I don't know if Guinevere had a separate run, but yeah,
Yeah,
I kept seeing them and it kept haunting in me because
yeah.
I was like, oh man, I
It
really
makes you want
wouldn't
to buy
mind
him again.
seeing them
Yeah,
because
Yeah,
I I'm so
I'm a big
engrossed in
fan.
D&D now that
yeah.
I just want to I want to absorb all aspects of
I know
it.
what you mean. I know what you mean because
Exactly.
I was tempted again to ask for because my birthday was right around when they released all these D&D cards again, the new ones. And
Yeah.
I tell you, man, I'm not lying. I was tempted to be like, oh, I'll get another box, but dude, I haven't even put the new box. I haven't even opened really the new. I have opened them, but I haven't put the cards in any decks. They're just
Yeah.
all still in the box. Like I was like, oh, this card is cool. Put that aside. Oh, this card is cool. Put that
Yeah.
aside.
Yeah, that's what it usually happens with me as well. Is I like looking at them a lot, and it's just the game itself is well fun. It's very competitive, and
Yeah,
I'm not very competitive,
yeah.
so I kind of fall out really quick.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but it's
Fair.
fun. I have
I
nothing against it. What's up?
Mm-hmm.
What's up, Brian?
Oh, I was gonna say I do the same thing. The only thing that I do like have a tradition with lately is that once a year around Christmas time, I get together with my brother and my niece and nephew and his wife, and we'll
Oh
get some booster packs and play like we'll do booster games over that
yeah.
Oh, those are
holiday
fun.
season.
Yeah, where you
That's
just
kind of
like
cool. That's
you
kind of
don't
cool.
feel as you don't feel as like stressed. Like I better get
Mm-mm.
the best cards, or else my deck's gonna be terrible. At least that
Yeah.
way,
Right?
everybody's on the same playing field.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
pretty fun.
I'll be honest with you. Uh, when I started playing again online, there were some rules again
Yeah.
that I had no idea how these worked
Hmm.
and stuff. And so, and even now watching my fiance play, there have been rules on some of those cards that I've been like, what in the world does that mean? And like she'll explain it to me, and I'm like, oh, that's just so it's almost gotten to the point to me where I still love the game,
Yeah.
but unless I have a computer figuring out the rules for me, I struggle with it because the
Yeah.
rules have
Yeah.
become so convoluted to me that it's really hard for me to understand what even all this means anymore.
Yeah. And
Like,
and you're making me want to play the online one again. My biggest issue is there like no campaigns and stuff, but
yeah,
it makes it much easier though to play
mhm,
when you're doing the online one.
yeah.
But we
I was
Yeah,
just gonna
but
say one
go
other
ahead.
thing.
Yeah.
I have to say this because Brian is here. One
Okay.
of one of the greatest Magic matches I have had is against Brian.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
And
Go
and
ahead.
Brian, I don't remember the deck you were playing, but I believe it was your elves.
Oh
And
yeah.
I was playing with my what we called back in the day my kitty deck because it's used to spawn cats like crazy.
Yeah.
And I remember at one point, Brian and I were sitting across from the table. We had used almost all the dice that I had in this big box because we had just that many creatures that we were tokening them with dice. Like he was like, "Give me another 100. I need 78 here." And it's like, dude, I don't have any more 100-sideds. I have like 820s. Like, figure it out. Like,
That's
it,
crazy.
we ended up having to call it a draw because there was no way I could get through his line because he had this stupid enchantment that only allowed one of my creatures to attack at a time.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
It was a
Even
fun.
though even though I had an army, I could only send one at a time. But he had no way to get through my army, so we ended up having to call it a draw. It was a great game,
Yeah.
though. I still remember
It
that
was.
game to this day.
That's awesome.
It was fun.
That's
um.
awesome. Well, anyways, I wanted to move into more D&D and out of
Yes.
Magic the Gathering since none of us even play that consistently right now.
Yes.
But
Yes.
anyways, that's awesome, and yeah, I always want to go
It was good
back,
memories.
but I'm going to stay away
Mm.
from it because my wallet can't afford it.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
There's that fly flying out
um,
right now. Mine. Oh god.
So I want to do some questions because I think this is some conversation starters here that way, because we have such a hard time talking. Uh, so I guess I want to start. Let's start with our guest here. I'm going to start like, why do you like playing D&D? I know I we you, we've all played tabletop games a lot in our lives, but D&D kind of came up at a weird time. It hit me perfectly, and then I ended up getting Tomas into it or back into
Mhm.
tabletop RPGing with D&D. And then I think I also got you into it because I told you I had an online game. And then you've both seemed to have been hooked. I think it's more of an easy way
Mhm.
to have a consistent TT tabletop RPG.
Yes.
But yeah, but what, Brian? It keeps you coming back, and why do you keep
It's
you're buying books and stuff now, and you're really
yeah.
I feel like you're really delving into this. I mean, you're running a game, you ran another game. Like what keeps you coming back?
Well, for me, definitely. I mean, it's got. There's a couple different key points. I guess it could hit. You could say, and
Well, let's just
one
do
of the
one
biggest
thing. Let's try to
ones.
do one thing.
The,
Yeah,
the
one
one
thing
the
each.
one thing I love about it is that you're able to work on building and like communication, building friendships, and also keeping connected with your friends, right? And so I think
Yeah,
that's one
yeah,
of the biggest things that it does. And it's, to be honest, like, yeah, you did mention buying the books, but besides that, like, it's probably, in my opinion, it's more of one of the cheaper hobbies in general, like,
yeah.
because it's your imagination. Besides,
Mhm.
like, if you want to get a core book or something, sure, yeah, you can run the campaigns as well through those adventure books, but the core books are give you those rules, and then like you're allowed to just use your imagination off of that and tell your story and build those connections.
Mhm.
That's
Uh,
awesome. What about you, Tomas? What do you? Hopefully, something different than him.
Oh.
I know we probably
Well,
all can just compare.
yeah. Well,
Uh,
for me personally, much like Brian here, I have many reasons, but if I was to choose the main one reason, mine may sound a little mundane, but it is honestly something that I have always strived for. It's the fact that they have streamlined it. They have made it very simple. They've made it
yes.
very easy to understand. Um I I know
Oh yeah,
people who have
I guess we should specify this is D&D 5e. I don't know if I've said that before. This is the fifth edition, the most current one. But yeah, go ahead. Go
yeah.
ahead, Tomas.
Oh no, it's all good. So I know people who have played the older editions and they have pretty much unanimously all commented that it was difficult. They maybe not all didn't enjoy it, but a lot of them did. When I played and I used to make like little campaigns and games myself. When I always did it, I always loved the simplicity, the streamlining, uh the quick grasp of the rules. You didn't have to read a whole book to understand it. And even though we've been talking about books and stuff, you really don't need to read a whole book to understand
No.
it. You just need to get a quick rundown and you can play. And
And
I think D&D is done really smart with that.
yeah, and you only need like one per group as well. I mean, you don't need
Mm-hmm.
everybody doesn't need their own book. You can share
Yeah.
books. Like I didn't purchase a book. I mean, I only purchased the player's handbook for my first six for till this year. I don't think I bought another
Mm-hmm.
book. And this year I just dove in and bought all of them at once on D&D Beyond because it just felt like it just felt like it's about time. But anyways, did you want to say anything else, boss? On that?
Oh, I'm pretty much in the same way with you, man. I didn't spend any money on D&D uh for the past, what, we started playing
I've
3
lost
years
track.
ago.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah, we've been playing now for a long time online. Um and yeah, like you, I didn't spend any money, but recently here on my birthday, I did ask my fiance for a couple books and I got them, and I'm really excited to get more and add to my collection, because even if you don't play D&D to play D&D, D&D's made it once again so simple that you can crossbreed it into your own creation so easily.
Or
It's
turn your
just,
own
it's
creatures into their
amazing.
system. Yeah, it's amazing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's done so well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think if I were to choose one thing right now, and it does make it difficult, is honestly the amount of possibilities
Mm,
with a tabletop RPG in general, but in specific, it carries over to D&D. Is just the idea of being friends and creating a story together and everybody
mhm.
being on the same page. Like anything can happen no matter how much prep you do as a DM. You can find yourself in situations that you weren't expecting. And yes, as you play with your players more, you'll start to expect them to do specific things, but even then they'll surprise you. So
Yeah.
it's just a really fun, no matter what DM or player, you never know what's going to happen next, which is something you don't get in a lot of video games and
Mhm.
other medias. Like there's always the chance for surprises, but usually everything kind of follows some sort of note and you get some major stuff eventually. But this is a whole chaotic realm that you just anything can happen which way and round, and
E-
it's so unpredictable that
And
it makes it so fun.
And you're so right too, because now that you've said that, I've started thinking about it, and you're so right too, because all three of us game master at one point or another. I've game mastered. I game mastering right now. We just got done having Alan game master. I think up next is Brian.
Yeah.
Yep.
Uh,
It'll be fun.
so yeah,
Next
we've
time you
all
join
game
yours.
mastered. We've all dabbled in it now with D&D. We've all begun to get to know the rules and stuff like that. And what I find so fun about it is I can play Alan's game and I can have these crazy fun adventures, but Alan is going to kind of DM Alan's way. And I like that. And when I go to play with Brian's going to play a DM a completely different way.
Yeah,
And that's what I think is great about it is
hmm
no matter who's DMing, you can play the exact same module. We could play Strahd
yeah.
again with Brian DMing, and it
Yeah,
would
and it
be
would
a
could be
different
totally
world.
different. And
Yeah,
that's
that's true.
that's definitely another thing. Yeah, we're about to join a friend of ours game, hopefully eventually soonish.
Mhm.
One of that I've only ever ran for or played with, but now I'll be running or I'll be playing in her world, and I'm very excited to see where her brain goes compared to where
Mm.
my brain went. And so I'm very excited to experience that. And that's just something we do run with an older group, and where I think we're all very fortunate that the majority of the players also want to DM in some way. So
Yes.
Yeah.
everybody seems to want to give it a shot, which is awesome. A lot of people don't have that. A lot of people have groups
Mm.
where they have a forever DM, and we're actually in a situation where we have people, so many people that want to DM that we have to make a list to see who's going
Yeah.
to be next, which
Yep.
is amazing. And that's so cool that
Yeah.
we have that option. But I think now that we're talking about DMing and playing, what do you guys prefer? And we'll start with Tomas this one. Do
Ooh,
you prefer to DM or do you prefer to play? If
that
it's
is
your
a tough one.
preference.
That is a tough one. It is a real tough one. And let me put it this, it depends on the DM. I I when I DM, I am very detail oriented, as Brian would know, as he has mentioned before,
Yeah.
and Alan has mentioned before, to history. I love history. I've studied history. I I have had several occasions with many a DM. Alan has had to suffer through this, and I think Brian has too, where I've been like, actually, DM, in those times, that did not happen.
Yeah.
There you go.
But
But it's not bad. Go ahead, sorry.
yeah, no, I mean you're right. It's not bad, but I do have to get reminded that this is a fantasy game and we are doing things with magic and stuff like that. And but it is one of the things that the more the more abstract my DM gets, the less entertained I am. And
uh,
maybe that's just because I've never been a huge fan of the crazy and the abstract. I like my more down to earth stuff.
That's fair.
So if I were to say which would I prefer, if I was to take it in any random situation, it would be DM. If I was
mhm.
to sit down with friends, I'd have to roll the dice.
Yeah, it
That's
definitely
fair.
becomes difficult to decide. Brian, what do you think? What would you prefer? Like, I know
Well,
you've only dabbled in DMing in D&D recently, but I know you've
Mhm.
done DMing before in other games, so you have just as much experience as the rest of us. So
Yeah.
what do you think, bud? What would you prefer if you could decide?
that's fair. So going to tie in kind of what Tomas was saying too about like having that when you're the player, having that for me personally, I think player is definitely more. I enjoy it more, and in the sense, but the twofold because when you're the DM, you definitely get to choose the setting and help people through it. Whereas if you're the player, you have to kind of go along with it, right? And so you're
Hmm.
along for the ride. You get to create your own story in the sense that you get to choose what you want to do within that evolving world. But I think that I could see why Tomas wants to have that experience of the DM and enjoying that experience more because when you are the player and if you're in that world where there's a lot of abstract things, you might not enjoy it as much from Tomas's point of view. And from my point of view, I think I it's like the opposite in the way, like in the sense that I
Mhm.
like just a little bit of everything. And so when I'm the player, I can experience those different stories unfold from somebody else's creative mind, and
Mhm.
I can add my own creativity into it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, yeah, for sure.
But
Uh,
I do love
so
DMing too.
yeah, of course. I think I do. Well, I think we all I've just come to the same thing every time we start. Well, I love both. I love to do
Yeah.
both, but for my reasoning, I prefer DMing for sure. And my main reasoning is my brain is it's I have a hard time paying attention. I may have
Mm.
ADHD or something. I don't know, but I have to force myself to take notes and things like that when I'm
Mm.
playing, or else I will find myself looking at my phone sometimes. And I really try not to because I always find that very disrespectful for the DM. So I really force myself to try to cut off everything else besides playing, and that makes
Mhm.
it's very difficult for
Yeah.
my brain when I'm playing, especially when it's not my quote unquote turn in combat. That makes it even worse.
Yes.
So DMing on the other hand lets my brain have to do 5 million things at once, not even
Mhm.
think about anything else because I have so much to think about of what's happening in the world and the game and everything like that. And it
Yeah.
takes a long campaign. Like towards the end of Curse of Strahd, my brain was able to wander a little bit because I had just researched everything so much that I
Uh-huh.
just knew exactly what to do. But you know, when the game's building, especially, and even towards the end, and even with my homebrew, there's just so much more to do that my brain is more occupied, which really helps
Mhm.
in a game like this. So yes, DMing would be my preferred as well. So it sounds like we got two DMs and one player, but
And
we
one
all are
play.
willing to do everything because we love the game.
Now,
But what's
I've
up?
got a quick question for everyone,
What's your
if you don't
question?
mind me stealing this.
Go ahead. What do you
Uh,
got, bud?
so I am curious because
Hmm.
I've noticed how we play our characters recently. Um, and I have begun to notice what I believe is a pattern. And so I wanna know what you guys feel about. Do you guys feel like your character at I'm not saying that any of us play the exact same character because we don't. But what I am saying is, do any of you have a style preference to your characters, like the edge lord, or the comic relief, or the serious doomslayer? You know, like what do you guys like to play your characters like,
Oh,
if you have a preference?
My
go
preference is
ahead.
actually I haven't really found a preference. I used to like the more chivalrous, up close, knight-esque character, but I found myself with playing D&D so much, expanding that a lot and really dipping into a lot of different personalities and forcing myself to find other styles and personalities and actually learning more about myself in different play styles of playing. And actually, I've come to become more fond of wizard type characters,
Mhm.
more magic intelligent users of late, but that can change as well. I move all over the place, but I there's been a couple of characters I've made that have been very experimental, and I've been trying to keep that going
Mhm.
personally. And it's not just experimental in like class; it's been experimental
Mhm.
in role play. I'm trying to force myself to role play differently and
Mhm.
and push myself to different limits. Um, anyways, that's I think that answers the question.
No,
You think?
yeah. What about you, Brian? I'm with Brian.
Yeah, yeah. I like I really enjoy to play. I guess it's hard to explain, and right now I'm tongue tied. But I would say that I enjoy to play different types of characters. Um, I know right now I'm playing more of a serious type that likes to talk and elaborate because he's supposed to be intelligent in
Mhm.
Tomas's game. But I also feel like I could want to challenge myself in the sense of the acting type of experiences and taking on new personas and different types. That's why I like role playing because there's different types of races and different types of um,
Mhm.
fighting styles and like we were talking about earlier with Alan saying spells, right? Like you can have spell casting focused characters or vice versa. You could have like a rogue that doesn't use
Mhm.
spells and kind of go in and just enjoy. But I definitely I feel like currently more intuitive play style in the sense that is curious and trying to understand the environment that he's in.
Mhm. Yeah, so that's cool. It's a little off of what my theories were, so I'm just gonna throw out these notes. Uh, no, I would like to comment on both your guys' characters because I have a chance and you guys have talked about it. I would feel like both your characters are definitely. I have seen you guys both try to expand your characters, so note that your efforts are paying off because people are noticing them.
Oh,
But
good.
for me personally, I I am similar to you, Alan, in that I used to like to play very serious, very stoic characters that, came to save the day, and didn't take no crap, or didn't start any crap either,
Hmm.
but now I find that I've been enjoying characters that were more the comic the comic end of the spectrum, no matter how they play comically, but they play comically. Like,
Yeah.
the difference between Hato, who was that sarcastic kind of ass, compared to uh Anton, who originally was a very kind and just lighthearted individual. So
You
I've
definitely got your
found
golden ticket on that one to switch that around.
uh I definitely found that I have started to enjoy the more humor aspects of it. In terms of fight style, I am now starting to go into the arcane. I'm very jealous of the both of you guys and your confidence with handling D&D's arcane, because that is the one thing that I feel like 5e, and it's not that it's confusing, it's just there's a lot of it, a
And
lot of
I,
spells and a lot of how they
uh,
work. And
yeah, and I originally, sorry to interrupt you, Tomas, but
no, go
originally I
for it.
wanted to dive in and make that ranger we were talking about initially in your
Mhm.
campaign, but I'm really happy I did go with the wizard just because
Yeah.
it was a different feel.
Yeah, no, I like I said, I am envious of you and Alan, because me, like, I Alan was saying we're gonna start playing with another person here soon, and that one I have already decided that I'm gonna do my first magical character. We'll see how long it sticks. If he dies, I'll probably just run back to my monk or barbarian. But
That is the
That's
problem with a lot of those
terrible.
magic characters, especially the wizard, which is my personal favorite. Is those first few levels are rough because you don't really have a lot of options besides just a cantrip. You have a couple spell slots, but you got to wait till you get some more before you really can start using them because you run out really quick.
Yeah,
Uh,
I get a little
but
too impatient. I just run my mage up there and go stab. Oh, that was wrong.
I think you're doing beast shape, right? Is that what you're playing
Yeah,
with your druid?
I'm gonna do
That's gonna be a
beast
little
shape.
different.
So I should have a little bit of mercy, because I'll be able to be like, oh wait, beast
Yeah,
shape.
you'll.
Now I'm
Is
good.
it, you just got to get to level 2, I think is when you start getting beast
Yeah,
shape.
yeah,
So you got to
it's
make it
pretty
there
quick.
first.
Yeah.
Well, oh, you kind of tapped on this, and I almost tried to steal the thunder from you for a second, just because it kind of led into my next question, which was, what, if anything, would you change about D&D? Like, what
Ah.
rule has bothered you? What I know we homebrew things nowadays. So like, if a rule
Mm-hmm.
bothers you, we don't think twice about it before we go. Ah, we'll just change it. But but they're coming out with point 0.5. They're working on 5.5 right now. So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's probably not going to come out for a couple of years, but which is going to be just an update. It's going to be a modification based off of feedback from the community. So,
All right, cool.
what is something in D&D that you have found to be a hindrance? You have not liked it, whether as a DM or as a player, a rule that bothers you. I think I went to let's start with Brian. Brian,
Yeah.
why don't we go with you?
Well,
What have
first,
you found out so far that you've not liked?
well, I love D&D, and I don't want to be that person that points out something that's not balanced,
Well,
because I feel like
I gave you the
it is
window.
balanced.
You have a
Yes.
chance right
So
now.
Yeah,
so let's
this
do
is
this.
your
Let's do this.
opportunity.
So I think it would be great, as long as it's balanced, to allow the spells, like on the list of spells to use, to allow there to be sometimes, depending on the spell you're casting, to use a bonus action and then an action. It's, I know it's terrible because you're only supposed to use one
Yeah.
spell, whether it's a bonus or an action.
For those that don't know, in D&D, you you have spell slots that are kind of like your mana, and you have
Mm-hmm.
cantrips that are free. They don't cost any mana. And what he's saying is there's multiple actions, an action and a bonus action. And if you cast a spell on any of your actions, you can't any of your actions on your turn, you cannot cast another spell that costs a spell slot. So this is what he's complaining about. Go ahead, Brian.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Yeah, you're good. Thank you for elaborating. Yeah, and so I think perfect example, right? So I've been watching Critical Role, and one of the things that's bugged me because I learned it from there inappropriately was the Misty Step. They'll use a Misty Step and then they'll use another spell after, and I'm like, oh, that sounds like a great homebrew rule, or I thought it was originally an actual rule, and when I tried to use it, I found out it wasn't.
Yeah, it's technically against the rules. I
Yeah.
actually like it personally just because I feel it balances casters a little bit more against fighters because they don't have uh, casting spells. Spells become really powerful, and
Yes.
so I think it gives them a slight nerf. But there's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of things in Critical Role that
True.
I don't agree with, and I love Critical Role. Do not get me wrong. I'm trying to go through
Yeah.
it right now. But there's a couple other homebrew rules that I'm just not a fan of, but it's not my table. So that's fine. They're
Mm-hmm.
allowed to do whatever they want. But yeah, that's a valid I remember when I first started playing D&D, that actually bothered me a lot. I played a cleric, and I was like, it was bothering me that I couldn't cast healing word and then also another spell. It really pissed me off, and I
Yeah.
actually had an argument with my brother, a social like disagreement with my brother, like
Mm.
explain to him why I feel this is a dumb rule. And eventually, I actually came around to it after playing for so long that I actually enjoy having it there. But yeah, it's a valid problem. Anyways, Tomas, what are you thinking? What is there something
Oh
that has
man.
bugged you?
I mean, come on. Where do I know? Um, there's actually, like I've said before, D&D 5e did a really good job because if you gave me other D&D editions, I know from what I've heard of them at least that there were several rules that I was like that just doesn't make sense. The one rule that I think doesn't make any sense to me is if you are prone, suddenly an archer cannot shoot you anymore.
They have disadvantage on you. They can shoot you,
Yeah,
but they just have
yeah, that's
disadvantage.
fair enough. Fair enough. Let me explain that rule better. It is true. So what happens is in D&D, it's the 5e edition is you roll your attack, right? Against their AC armor class. So let's say their armor class is 17. So you have to whatever you roll with your pluses and your proficiency, which is how well you use your weapon. Uh, so you add your proficiency and your pluses and your roll together, and you have to beat 17. It's actually not that difficult. So you know when you go to shoot someone, if they're crouched, what you have to do though is you now have to roll 2 dice, and you have to choose the lowest number that you rolled. I understand it if you were like to lay down in a field of tall grass, it might hinder the archer to see where you went. But
Hmm.
I don't understand it in like the idea of like it's a meadow or it's a courtyard or it's even a forest with no fallen trees around. Like, DM, is there any trees around? No. Okay, I lay on the ground. Well, I can still hit you then. So yeah, that's the one thing that I've always, and actually it never bothered me until I played an archer.
Oh
And
yeah,
the DM started having guys just walk around on their knees. And it
yeah.
was like,
Oh,
really?
Wait a minute.
that's kind of a that's a weird
No,
that's a weird
I'm being a little
yeah.
dramatic, but you get
I
the
get
idea.
it. I understand the problem with it, and honestly, I do think it's more of just a balance thing, just because
Hmm.
being a ranged fighter is a lot easier than being a melee
Yeah,
fighter.
it
Not
is true.
easier, less risky. It's usually less risky
Fair
than being
enough.
a melee
Fair enough.
fighter.
You're
So
right.
with risk reward, but I can kind of see it. If you see someone prone, they may be a little difficult
Yeah.
to more difficult to, but yeah, whole disadvantage. But that is the issue with D&D in general. Well, not the issue with D&D, but the issue with the simplified advantage disadvantage
Hmm.
system, because it just makes everything easy, that if it's a good thing you get them advantage, if it's a bad thing you get them disadvantage. So there's no
Hmm.
like, you don't have a lot of pluses or minuses for doing specific things, because that just makes things more
Yeah,
complicated.
it's made it much more smoother to get through something because you don't
Mhm.
have to worry about adding so many things.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's created a gap in the game now
Yeah.
where it's like I can just abuse this tactic.
Yeah.
Like,
There's a lot
so.
of things like that. That's why like I don't like flanking,
Hmm.
but it's an optional role. But I don't like it, and but what else can you do besides add bonuses? And that's what you started doing.
Yes.
And I won't say that I 100% like what you're doing with it,
Fair
but
enough.
I like it more than flanking, because just doing advantage or disadvantage is also just, it's just too much, because it's like
Yeah.
you're negating people's skills and stuff that give them advantages and things, because you could just flank instead.
And I
Uh,
will say it's mainly because you pointed that out to me back in the day that I really tried. I really looked into these people who were doing these alternate
yeah,
rules. Like,
I like that better, but it does just add a bit more variables, is my only
it
complaint with it,
does.
which does
It
slow it
does.
down slightly. and that's
Yes.
my only complaint with it. Not that I'm against it, and I'm completely fine
Yep.
doing it,
No, it's
but
fine.
yeah, but yeah. So, oh, I didn't do mine yet,
You
and
didn't
this
do
is actually
yours.
going to. I know this is going to be my soapbox, and mine's completely different. Um, Recently, I've been thinking about this a lot, and actually, Level Up to 3 gave me the idea. During Curse of Strahd, when I was running it, my biggest problem I felt was long rests. I
Ah.
think long rests are too easy to get. And I think
Ooh.
that it needs to be more difficult. And what actually sparks this, and this is actually might be my first like big homebrew I may implement into my next campaign,
Ooh.
is there is a Lord of the Rings module, which I have been reading, and they have a long rest rule where the only way to take a long rest is to be in a sanctuary, and a sanctuary is a town.
So
So it
I
is
have
going to.
go
What's
ahead,
up?
go ahead.
I was gonna say it forces your players, from what they described when he's implemented in his games, it forces your players to plan and utilize their resources better during adventures, because basically they have to plan sanctuary to sanctuary,
Hmm.
uh, and so it's more kind of like Lord of the Rings in that way, where your
Hmm.
resources will be dwindling while you get there. Now you can make new places your sanctuary, but they have to be safe locations.
Hmm.
And
Right.
yeah, so it's an interesting concept, and I haven't studied it too much, but once I kind of get a full grasp on it, I actually plan on implementing it in a lot of my games, just because I feel, and maybe this is my big issue with myself, is D&D has forced, or not forced me, but made me want to make the game harder. I don't know why. It's
Hmm.
something about D&D. I want more lethality. I want more difficulty. I want more strenuous resource management, because I
And
feel like
yet,
it's so easy. Yeah. I hate like Dark Souls and stuff. I can't
yeah,
stand
and
them.
yet you won't play Dark Souls.
Yeah. I don't know why. Those games don't hit me, but I just what I always with DMing, it's always been like it always feels too easy to get a long rest. The only real
Hmm.
hindrance to it is random encounters and the 24-hour time period where
Yeah.
you can only do it once every 24 hours. And
So
That's
so
fair.
yeah, so that was
so
like that's the
I'll
only way I've been able to stop people. But anyways, what were you gonna say tomorrow?
so
Sorry.
I'll say this. I back when I was trying to find like variations to the flanking and stuff, I did watch a video on YouTube. I'm not sure if this is the exact title, so you might have to fish around the titles a bit. But it
Uh-huh.
was something like most it's either like most difficult or most cruel DM homebrews or something like
Okay,
that.
yeah.
And this was on there.
Oh,
And the
really?
guy, yeah, and the guy was talking about it. And so it was a little bit different than what you were saying. So there wasn't this sanctuary idea, but essentially the only way you could get a long rest in what this DM was doing was the only way you could get a long rest was inside a bed, and you had to be inside a fortified area. So it
Interesting.
wasn't even that you could be in a town to get a
Hmm.
long rest.
Yeah.
You had to be in an area where there was no threats, like nothing. And
Yeah.
so the guy was complaining, and so it will be a little different with yours. So I'm curious how you're going to do it
Yeah, I'm
because,
curious how I am too. That's why I want to figure
yeah,
it out first. But yeah.
because what the guy was complaining about, what I was hearing when he was complaining about it, I was like, yeah, that would be a nightmare. Was so the guy would have things like he would roll, he said, and then he would be like, yeah, a servant walks by the hall, you wake up, you know, and it's
Oh,
like, oh,
that's just weird.
yeah, and it's and the DM explained it as well, you guys are adventurers, you're always on edge, the only place you get a safe rest is if you're
Yeah,
guarded and
that seems a
yeah,
little, that's like taking it to the next level, it sounds
yeah.
like.
So I know
Yeah.
you're not going to go that
Interesting.
far. I just wanted to
No, no,
tell
no.
you that I did hear about something similar, and the guy was just and I was like, yeah, I feel for you, man, because that would have driven me nuts.
Yeah, that is definitely not what that's not what I intend at all. Like a sanctuary
I
would be
I
definitely a
You
think
place
played
where you
the
go
I
rest
think
and
Diablo,
your
stuff.
right? I mean,
idea could be really fun. I'm not gonna lie.
I yeah,
I think
I
it
feel like
could.
it could be too. It could be very interesting for like for long campaigns. But yeah, but that's my biggest thing so far. That's just something I've had little stuff here and there I can't think of right now, but that is one I've been focusing on recently and trying to figure out. Did you have something to say, Brian?
Yeah.
well, it kind of reminded me when you're talking about the sanctuaries being in the towns or safe havens. It
Hmm.
reminds me kind of like of the old Diablo because you would go into like
Yeah.
Ah.
fight, and then you'd have to, in order to sell your winnings, I guess you could say, you had to go back to town, and there's only two ways you could really do it. You either have to go back the way you came, or get to like a either get to a gate stone or like use um some sort of spell to go back, right? And so like it's
Hmm.
not easy, and it made it more challenging. And I think that kind
Mm.
of trying to look for the challenging way to bring it into the D&D world of 5e, and like still allowing the players to get the long rests. I'm on board with it. I think it sounds fun. I would definitely want to try it out.
I so
Might even
I have
implement it. Go ahead, sorry.
I have two questions for you though, Alan,
Hmm.
with this
Yeah.
rule.
Okay.
First off, are you going to make any exceptions for casters? Because casters are the ones that really need the long rest, especially early level.
Yeah.
So that's the
Or could
first
they get like
Yeah,
consideration.
that's no.
And
Yeah,
then you don't have to answer
personally,
it.
no. Yeah, okay, yeah.
Okay.
These are things to think
good
about. But
answer?
yeah, let's
Yeah,
see.
yeah.
What do you guys say?
And then the second thing I was curious about is, are we gonna have any form of, how would I say this? Is is it is there gonna be like a fast travel way? Like, we need to get back to town now. No random encounters. Like,
Well, it sounds like you gotta wait until your wizard can
all right,
teleport.
all right. I'm just curious.
I don't know.
I'm just curious if we're gonna
Yeah.
I
get
mean,
anything early. Like,
too,
because
because
that
they,
could be
they let you
bad.
hire you can hire people like thugs and
Yeah.
whatnot,
Yeah, that could
You
be
can hire
and so you
interesting.
could just
mercenaries.
hire a
That is
random
definitely something.
wizard
Yeah,
with a spell, right? Like,
You
is
know,
that
that is
yeah.
something I saw in Lost Mines of Phandalin that I have never seen utilized is the mercenary, the hiring the mercenaries to help
Hmm.
you.
and that's one
But
of the
I
things
think,
I've been thinking about in my campaign.
yeah,
Go ahead, sorry.
most of our groups have been pretty big, so I don't think we've
That's
needed
true.
that.
Yeah.
But in smaller groups, I could see it being necessary. But also, more people means less experience for
Hmm.
individuals, which is always fun. But I think we're going to move a little forward here, and I wanted to try to keep them a little short, but I would like to do a favorite stories. That's what I was doing. The favorite
Woo!
story of D&D. If you guys have a quick one that it would be exciting, we'll start with Tomas this time. Uh,
Okay.
what what
All
is a
right.
good story that you like?
A good story that I like, real quick one. Um, so I think honestly, the best real quick story I can think of off the top of my head involves Alan. Uh, so Alan, just to give you a little bit of background, Alan made a character in my game, by the name of Faith. She's a tiefling, and she was the sweetest person you could have ever met at the beginning. The very beginning of the game, Faith wanted desperately to help this old woman with her graveyard problem. And Faith then went from quest to quest, helping out, helping out, helping out. Then Faith wanted to be a warlock paladin.
Yeah,
Which one
Paladin.
was it?
It was
Paladin.
Paladin first.
So if Faith made an agreement with someone from her more demonic bloodline, and things just shifted. And I think my most exciting and yet tense moment that I've ever had, and unfortunately, Pine, you weren't here for this, and I'm sure eventually I'll have one with you as well.
Oh,
But
nice.
my most intense moment I ever had was, it was the first time I was DMing it was the first time I was DMing D&D too. And I was about to have a PvP match between Faith and another player, because
Uh
Faith got
I
upset because what did Nymphaea do? She
I
cut the
Oh,
symbol or
she burned.
something?
Yeah, she burned the shield. Yeah, her shield because she
Yeah,
had Omeria, her god symbol on it. Because she actually became a paladin towards Omeria, which was her
a
deity,
good,
and then
yeah.
she made the pact with the fiend afterwards. And so yeah, yeah. Because I remember
Yeah.
Erie. I guess I was doing a pretty good job because I was just I got really into that role and I was doing a good job. And she was PMing me like, "Is everything okay? Is
Yeah,
we all right?" And I was like, "Yeah, we're fine. We're role playing.
yeah.
This is fake. I'm just having a good time." Yeah, but it
But
was
I
just
remember, I
yeah.
remember it was like I want to say it was like the fourth or fifth session. My first time DMing D&D, and Faith is about to go PvP with the druid, and I was just like, "All right, I gotta see how this is gonna play out."
Yeah, I actually had to because I was going pretty hard with that character, and I actually had to sit down and tell myself, I was like, all right, remember this is a party game, so you need to start figuring out how you're going to get Faith to be more agreeable and
I do
trying to at
still,
least work with them
I do
more.
still love Faith. I love Balthazar too, Brian, but
Well, thank
I
you.
don't know what it is about Faith. Maybe it's because I've seen her change so much over the campaign. You have made a very interesting character, Alan, to
Yeah.
watch grow.
Yeah, I've
It
been
is
loving her.
fun.
That's why I can't change her. I'm having a hard time because I wanted to like alter her classes and stuff, but I was like, nothing makes sense if I change anything right
Yeah.
now, so I can't. But yeah, that's an interesting. I love that game and I love that character. So that's awesome that that was your story. Brian, what you got? You got a good story that you think of
You know, I
from D
I
and D or even
a
role playing? It
quick
doesn't have
one.
to be D&D. It could be any
Yeah.
tabletop game.
Okay. You're opening up the.
Oh no, now
Okay,
we've created
so
a
yeah,
problem.
well,
Uh-oh.
I was gonna start with D&D, but now you opened up all the doorways. So I play Star Wars with my cousin. I'll go with that one.
All right.
Um, and uh, and so me and my brother and my cousin are playing, and it's like based off of the core book that is a D6 system, so similar
Okay.
to 5e in a way,
Well,
but
some of our
focusing.
guests might not understand what a D6 system is. So why don't you give us a breakdown of that real quick?
Yeah,
What's
for
the
sure, for sure.
difference? What's the difference between a D6 and what D&D is a D20?
Yeah,
So
so D&D, yeah, like you're saying, Tomas. Sorry to cut you off a minute.
no, I was done. You're up
Oh,
now.
perfect. And then so going back into that, so the D20 system, obviously you're using a die that ranges from 1 to 20, whereas D6 you're focusing more on that D6 for your rolls. So if you have to do perception or any skill checks, you're using a D6 more focused, and then with attack hits, right? So like going towards hitting the target, you're using the D6 versus a
So
D20.
do you only use a
Um,
D6 for damage or how?
yeah,
Because like
mostly
in
D6s are for
D&D,
damage as well.
because in D&D
With
you can use
D&D,
a D4 to a D12. So
that's true for your damage ranging.
yeah.
It kind of spans out. So in Star Wars, the way that it works is you'll add more dice just of the
Okay.
same size though. So similar to D&D where you could add more D to the damage
Mhm.
roll, but instead of having the spans of a D4 all the way to a D12, you're just focusing
It's
more on the
just the
D6.
D6. Okay.
Uh-huh. And so my character is on this pterodactyl with and
In Star
we're
Wars?
yeah, in Star Wars it's like an alien pterodactyl on an alien planet, and we're Sith actually, and we're flying these and we're trying to get to this destination. And the important part is that I my character is a nautilus, so he's like those water creatures that kind of like have lots of tentacles, big eyes, they can breathe underwater. Um, Long story short, it's a thunderstorm. We're flying around these cliff sides. I tie my character's self off to his self and to the mount, and basically there is a force user that uses a spell. Well, the waves myself, I'm the force user, so the waves crash into my character, um, and gonna knock me off my mount. So instead of getting crushed or crushing my mount, I try to use a force well, which would push the water away from my character and my mount. But uh, long story short, the force well, it it's sorry, let me back up with the story for a minute. So I jump off of my character before using the force well because I don't have to use it at this point, and I'm trying to get away from the mount crashing into the wall, and it I forget to untie my character. from the harness, and
Mm.
so I
Oh,
kind of caused this ripple effect. But my
mhm.
brother's character ends up saving me in the end of the day, and it was just a fun experience. Short story of self-reflection.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had one for D&D, but I don't want to take up too much time.
All
So
right. We'll have to talk about that some other time when we have another D&D cast. Uh, I got to do a short one. I know probably my favorite story to this day was the Mid Curse of Strahd one that I've already told in the past, which is very long and elaborate. But if you want to listen to that one, go to a previous podcast. I can't remember which number it is, but yeah, that was my favorite. But this next one, this one was is my favorite for many reasons, and one of my main reasons is because it was with a family game where I had literally introduced everybody who was playing to D&D. They were all my in-laws and my niece and my nephew and my son. Everybody was there. There were some young people, and we had been learning D&D for a little while, and they were a party of adventurers as usual in the Lost Mines of Phandalin, and they needed to get some information from a certain person in a bar. And what makes this story so interesting is not only did they went into the bar, they found out who it was, and what I liked about this felt like the first time that at least one of the players, but maybe the players in a whole realize that you can do anything in D&D. Like it doesn't have to be combat, it doesn't have to be like exactly just talking to someone. She decided as a cleric to attempt to seduce the person and take them outside. Basically, you know what she was attempting to do to convince them to do. But when she got him out there, she got the information and then killed him. Uh, but not only did that happen, but just the expressions she did while doing it as she stood up and attempted to do a seduction dance to roll for her character seducing this person to get this information. And it was just what was so amazing about it was just the amount of depth that all the players got into, these new players of D&D actually getting into the role play aspect of the game, that it's not just dice
Yeah.
and combat. There's a lot more storytelling to it, and sometimes your story will involve doing a dance, and if you want to do the dance in person to show what your character does, by all means do it.
Yep.
So I loved that, and that was also the campaign I killed my son. So I'll leave that in there. But felt
Not
terrible about
really.
that.
Not really.
No, yeah, but he was very young, and I didn't realize how hard he would take it. But yeah, let's say I had to talk him down and then get him to make a new character. It was a fun time. But anyways, that was an amazing time. I loved doing this with
Yeah.
you guys. I think if you guys want to, we can do the game. I have a game here.
What time is it?
We're
9:30?
at 9:30.
What how long you think the game's gonna be?
It's a normal game, so it shouldn't be too long, I
Yeah.
hope.
I
All
guess
right.
let's
Let's just
pound it
do it
out.
then.
Let's
We'll
do
move
this.
on. All right.
give it a
So we're
shot.
doing dual rates. This is an old one. This is the one we were going to do on our 25th episode. So we'll do it real quick. I don't know if you've watched any of our episodes, Brian, where we've done the duel of rates before, but essentially it is Price is Right rules. There's a Metacritic score, and I will tell you the critic score, and you have to give me the user score, is how it works. So I'll just say the movie, and then I will tell you the critic score, and you have to give me the user score. Now it is uh, above two, you can't go over. Basically, up to, but not over, and you have to beat your friend. Like I said, Price is Right rules. So I think we have all the rules. Any questions?
So the critic
Nope.
score, you're talking about like stars, like 2 to 5.
So this is the Metacritic score. If you go to metacritic.com, there's a Metacritic score. So it takes a bunch of critic scores and it compiles them together into one score.
Mhm.
So so the first one, okay, so we're gonna go with Brian first, And the first one I have, Brian, and this is going to be going for you because a lot of these are sci-fi movies, so you might
Oh,
be in your
boy.
depth. Uh,
Dang it. Like, the only time
Tomas.
I've seen sci-fi is at Brian's house. You
Well,
realize
there you
that,
go.
right?
Then you should be good.
But
Alright. So the first one we have is Alien 3.
oh my word.
Alien 3. And the third one, the best one, some would say. Those people would be very wrong, but they would be saying that. We have the critics score is a 59. 59. What do you think the users thought of Alien 3, Brian?
I'm gonna say like around a 79, just because I feel like I could have a connection with my fans base of people who like Alien 3. But then some people don't like it, so it could be lower. But I'm still gonna go with that same number I gave you.
It's
So
it's the
you what was it
threes.
again? 70? All
Just
right, you
jumping up
give me
high.
Yeah.
70, like in the
70.
70, 70, you know,
Oh, 70
nine,
what? You have to give me a
70.
70
number.
what? You have to give
So
me an
let's go
exact number.
79. We'll go high. Go high.
79. All right, we got 79. All right, Tomas, this man thinks that this movie that the critics gave a 59 deserves a 79. What do you think?
Well, I haven't seen Alien 3. I
Oh
believe I
no.
saw Alien 2. I saw one of them. They were already back on Earth though in that one. So I know it wasn't the first one.
Alien 3 was not on Earth, by the way. It was on a Persian
Yeah.
planet. But
So
anyways,
done. Yeah, I haven't seen Alien 3. So I'm gonna go with, you said the critic score was what?
the critics score was 59.
I'm gonna go with 50.
50. Well, Brian,
Oh, my
sorry to
word.
say,
Okay.
but Tomas got it right. The user
Ooh.
score was 62. You went way too over, Brian, with that one.
Jumped too
Right.
The
high.
users did not
Too much
like
hope
it as much.
in the community.
So good job, good job, both of you. Now we'll go to Tomas, and this one is actually one you would know.
Oh, good.
We have, it's one that you actually introduced me to because I'd never even heard of it before this. But I think you did. I don't remember. Equilibrium.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Equilibrium. Yeah.
Ooh, this better be
This
good.
is a good one. This is a good one. But the meta score, the critics did not like it. Out of 22 critics, they gave it a 33.
Oh, well, I don't know what they're talking about.
33. Yeah, I like this movie.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull a Brian here because I have actually watched that one recently with my fiance, and it still holds up. I mean, it's still fantastical, but it still holds up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Brian. I'm gonna pull Brian here, and I'm gonna say 75.
75 for Equilibrium. Nice. Brian, he thinks it's a 75. The critics gave it a 33. What do you think?
It's a tough one because I want to go higher than Tomas, but just to be the what do you call it? The antagonist? I don't know. I'm gonna go lower, and I'm gonna say
okay.
55.
55.
I
You
know,
have
and that's
no
one of my-
faith in these users.
Nope.
If you don't have the big brain, I get it. Well, Tomas, look at this. You're already taking a lead. It was an 84 for the user score, so you went under still, so you get the point.
Still,
Good
yeah.
job.
Closer though.
Still
You
went
went
under.
closer.
That's
all right.
crazy.
That's two for Tomas. All right. Here's one. I don't know if
my
you.
points.
Yeah, I'm just gonna send more. I mean, he's the guest, right? So the next one we have is a movie. I'm not sure if you've seen. It's an older sci-fi movie. It's got one of our favorite actors, Arnold Schwarzenegger, in it. Total Recall from 1990. It got a Metascore of 57.
I don't know if I've
Brian.
seen that one.
Oh no,
That's a good one. The original.
actually, yeah, this is Brian. You're right, Brian.
Yeah.
57.
So,
what would you say?
I'm gonna say they're wrong again, but I've been wrong all night. So 65.
65. All right, 65. All right, 65 is what he's thinking.
I actually don't believe I've seen this one with Arnold.
It's a good one if you.
I'm suddenly missing. I'm suddenly realizing, like, I felt like I've seen a lot of Arnold movies. I've seen True Lies, Terminator, Predator, but yeah, I haven't seen this Total Recall. I know there's other Arnold ones too.
Oh yeah.
Oh, there's tons of
Um,
Arnold ones.
yeah.
Is the Sixth Day one of them?
Oh
Which
yeah,
one?
yeah. All right. I'm gonna go with 70.
All right, 65 and a 70.
Jumped up
Uh,
above me.
the users actually also really like this movie. I'm surprised neither of you had even heard of it, as it
Well, I
is a
haven't.
cult classic. Yeah, it's a cult, it's a bunch of cult classic. It has an 88. So Tomas again, another
Ooh,
point.
Look at
I've seen
you.
Minority
Dang.
Report, so
Oh yeah,
I've seen
that's a good
that
one
one.
too.
The old one, not the new one. I have seen the new one, but the old one is the good one.
What's
Yeah,
the old one with not Tom Cruise? Is that the old?
The old
I think
one
that
is
is the no old one. I thought that was with
they
Tom
both
Cruise.
have. Don't they both have them?
I have
I
no
thought they
idea.
both had them, or am I
Well,
confused
either
now?
way, it doesn't matter because that is not on this list at all. So.
Darn.
Well, we're at our spooky time of the year, so let's move on to Jason X.
Ooh.
Jason X was the 10th Jason movie. It was in 2002. Uh, we have our Metascore of 25. 25, and I think this time it is Tomas first. So what do you
Honestly,
think, Tomas?
honestly, by the 10th movie, I don't think it can be that good. So I'm gonna go with 30. I'll say that they were wrong, and there's something redeemable
All
in there. So
right.
I'm gonna go with 30.
Again, I'll go lower just to see what happens, and I'll say 25.
All right. Brian has not learned as he keeps going
I know.
lower.
I should go higher.
Jason X is actually one of the better Jason movies, even though it's
Really?
very
Well,
campy. It's the only one that's like sci-fi, and it's actually pretty interesting.
All
It's
right.
crazy, but it's interesting.
I
It
saw.
has a user score of 61.
Ooh,
So again,
Dang.
Tomas would take the
ew.
cake on that one.
That
So
is really good for the 10th movie. I'll
yeah,
give it
yeah.
to you. That is really
Uh,
good for the 10th
Jason
movie.
movies are all over the place, and they are all I feel are better than what their scores are for critic
Okay.
scores. Uh, but they also have a pretty cult following as well. But anyways, we'll
Hmm.
move on to our next one. We're starting with Tomas this time, and maybe you have seen this one. I
No,
don't know if you
I
haven't.
did Jason. I started with Jason, so it's on Pine.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Brian will go first. This one I know you had to have seen this one. This one's an amazing movie. It's more recent, 2017, Blade Runner 2049. It
Oh yeah.
is the sequel to the Blade Runner, the first Blade Runner with Harrison Ford, and it is a Metascore must see at 81.
So
Wow.
I'm gonna just jump the gun and go with a 90. We'll just go high.
Oh,
See how that
90.
pans
All
out.
right. All right. He's getting a 90, Tomas. What do you think? Do you think it deserves a 90?
So I'm gonna tell you a trick here, Brian.
Yeah.
The critics, and the populace never match up. Never, never within close to each other. So
Oh,
But a
if
couple of
he's
them
saying
match up,
if
but
he's
it is
saying
pretty
80,
rare. It is pretty rare.
if he's
Yeah.
saying 80, you better shoot somewhere between 15 or more. So I'm gonna go with 75.
oh, I see.
All right. So we have what was yours again, Brian? You said a
90.
90.
90, right? Yeah,
Yeah, 90.
90. And yours was 75.
75.
Look at this guy cutting down. The user score is 84. So again, well, this time, Brian, you went too high. Sorry about that, bud.
Oh, that's okay. I'm learning though. That was a good tip, Tomas. That was a good tip.
If the critics are high, the users are low. If the users are low, the critics are high. That's how I beat Kyle. That's how I do it.
That's the
There you
secret tip.
go.
There you go.
His trick is out.
It's
I
That
know
out.
way, if I
you.
come back as
Yeah.
another guest, I can hopefully,
There you go. All right.
get a couple points
We'll
over.
move on to a great movie in my opinion, but the cap off to oh my God, what is this? What is that? What is that? See, Firefly. There we go. I love
Firefly.
Firefly. So
Yeah.
Firefly ended abruptly, and they made a movie that came out many years later. Uh, so it's a continuation of it, but it's also a great isolated movie. The Metascore for it was 74. So this time we're doing Tomas. So Tomas, What would you think? It is
Now-
by Joss Whedon. So just let you
Yeah.
know it's a good one. So
Mhm. Yeah. Now here's one of those rare cases, Brian, where because of the cult following, you might want to play around the same numbers. So I'm gonna go with. Oh man, I remember you and Cameron talking about this like crazy. I'm gonna give it the 80 this time.
all right, Tomas coming in with an 80. All right, Brian. Critic score is 74. He gave it 80. What are you thinking? No,
Well,
pressure's on.
I know,
Mm.
yeah. We'll go 74, 80. I could do. I'll go higher. I'll just try it and see if I can
Ooh.
get like
You can be real slimy and just do one above it.
Yeah, you could. You
I
could.
think Kyle did that once.
80.
And
I'll do 82. That way I do a
oh,
two number
Yeah,
chart.
82. All right,
let's see who this
not
is.
as bad. Well,
I know
look
where
at
you
that.
live.
We got an 83 user score.
Oh, come on.
Look at that. Look
Just
at
look in there.
that. Good
point.
job, Brian.
I wanted a blowout. Come on. He was
Almost
supposed to
made
get
it there.
nothing.
All right. So next one we're gonna do is maybe a movie you guys have both seen. Now this is the that didn't work. Okay, we're just gonna move on from that one. We're gonna do another spooky movie. So Halloween time. We got a spooky movie. We got The Thing. The Thing from 1982 has a Metascore of 57. Sorry, 57. I believe it is Brian this time first.
Yes, it is.
So
I'm a big
Brian,
fan of this
what would you
movie,
like? I know
and
you
I'm gonna
are.
rate it high, but not super high. So I'm gonna say 77.
All right, 77. His critic score is 57. He's rating it 77. What do you think, Tomas?
I'm gonna think that kids these days have no appreciation for the classics. So I'm gonna say 30.
True.
30. Wow. Oh, Brian making a comeback. The user score was
come on.
88.
Oh.
So he's coming
All right.
back. Nice.
Touche, kids these days. Touche.
Yeah, they learned something.
It
I
is
guess.
a good movie. You guys should all watch it. For a black and
Yeah.
white, it's great.
Not black and white.
Yeah, it is.
It just
Swamp
feels
Thing?
like right.
1982?
Swamp Thing?
No,
Swamp
The
Thing. Yeah,
Thing.
Swamp Thing is
Oh.
Not Swamp Thing. The Thing.
Swamp Thing is black
I
and
don't know
white.
why I heard Swamp Thing when I heard Thing. It's all right.
Which is funny because
wrong.
Swamp Thing. I could see why people would have issues with it, but it is an amazing film as well for its
Yeah.
time. But
Yeah,
I'll
anyways,
have to rewatch
this
it.
one I'm pretty sure Tomas has seen. So Tomas, you may have a chance. Pitch Black,
Yes, I have
2000.
seen.
Yeah,
Oh
I
boy.
remember when it came out. I think we might have seen it in theaters actually.
I liked it when it came out. I didn't like it when I resaw it.
I watched it recently, and I remember actually enjoying it a little bit more.
All right,
but
maybe
anyways,
I'll have to give it another fair
the
shot.
critics
Maybe I'll have
didn't
to give
really
it
care though, as they gave it a 49. So
Yeah,
what do you
see,
think the
that's
users
kind of
gave it?
that's kind of what I would have given it the second time around. I remember really liking it the first time though. I'm gonna go with. Let's give this one 60.
All right, a 60 with a 49 critic score. Brian, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking, let's go. I like that movie. I'm gonna go. I'm just gonna go lower though, because I don't feel like it was as popular. Maybe it was. We'll go 50 and see what happens.
So we got a 60 from Tomas and a 50 from
Mhm.
Brian. Well, Tomas, it's your lucky day, as it was actually an
Woo!
88. An 88.
Ooh.
Fans actually really enjoyed that film,
Man,
apparently.
maybe I'm gonna have to give it a second shot.
I remember enjoying it when I watched it again. And I'm not a huge Vin Diesel fan, but I know he's not really the primary person as much in it.
I feel like
It's
that's
one of
what kind of killed it for me the second time too, because I was at a point in my life where I was kind of like over Vin Diesel, and I saw it a second time, and I was kind of like, whatever. But I'll
Yeah.
have to give it another shot.
Yeah, it's a good one. All right, so we're moving to the next one, and this one I actually watched recently for the first time. Dread from 2012, not Judge Dredd, Dread.
Oh,
This is the second
yeah.
Judge Dredd movie, which is actually, if you haven't seen it, is really good in my opinion. But the critics said it was like average because they gave it a 60. I feel it was much better than that. It's a very beautiful looking movie.
Well,
But we got Tomas this time, I want to
I
say.
believe so.
All right, Tomas, you got it. What are you thinking? With my
All
raving
right.
review, what do you think? Because I don't think you've seen it
Oh
yet. If you
man,
get a
I
chance,
haven't
though, I would
seen
highly look into it.
I
I think
haven't
it's on
seen the
Hulu.
remake. I haven't seen the remake. I did see the old one when I was young,
It's
probably when I
short
shouldn't
and
have.
fun. I think it's like
But
an hour and a half at most, and
yeah.
it's a blast personally. But anyways,
All right.
60. What do you think the user score is?
Oh boy. I almost want to feel like though people got nostalgia mad. So I'm gonna go
For,
with
which is
40.
insane because that first one's terrible. But
Yeah,
anyway, 40. Okay.
40.
All right. Nice. 40. So, Brian, what do you think?
uh, let's go. Let's go 49.
49. Smart stepping up as it was an
Dang it.
87 user score. A lot of
Wow.
people really liked it. And I really liked it. And I'm actually
I did
upset
too,
that they
actually.
won't be making a sequel because it actually didn't do very good when it
Uh,
came out, which I didn't even hear about it. So that's probably part of the
The
reason.
yeah.
actors were good. Yeah, this is a cult, definitely.
Because I looked it up and I was like, what the heck is this? And then I was like, this looks really good. But anyways, we got our last one. Right now, Tomas will take the cake. But for fun, we got Predator 2 with a meta score of 46. And what do you think, Brian, would it be?
40, he only gave it
Well,
46. I'll give it higher. I'm gonna
Look at this guy. Only 46.
56. Yeah, go there.
56? All right, so
Yeah.
46 meta score. He gave it a 56. I don't know if you've seen this movie. I feel like you have at least seen it, but I don't know how long it's been. It's been a while for me, I know.
Is this the
This is
one
the
with Danny
second one.
Glover?
Yes, this is the
Yeah,
second
okay. So
one
this is
where
what I have
it's
seen.
yeah.
Yeah. I've seen this one and I've seen
The
the
urban.
Arnold one, which was the first one, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
Arnold Glover
yeah.
was the really good one. That was the amazing
Yeah.
one.
All right. Oh man. Okay, let's see. Well, as seen that, if I remember correctly, I saw two first. So
Really?
I saw it over at my cousin's house.
Okay. I mean, I don't
Um,
think they're really I don't think the canon really matters
yeah.
in these two, but yeah.
So seeing that I saw it first, I'm gonna go ahead and give it. What did Pine give it? Brian give it
Yeah,
A 56, right?
56. Yep.
6.
You went 10 above. Yeah,
All right.
exactly.
Well, I'm gonna pull a him and do 57.
Ooh, look at him come and
Archibald.
steal that point as it's a 69.
Ooh.
Surprisingly, a lot of people it's fine. I mean, it's a Predator movie. It's definitely
Yeah.
not like
it
as
was fun.
bad as a lot of the later ones. Well, good job, Tomas. You win this game. Sorry,
Woo.
Brian. I know you're a guest, but Tomas don't care about no
No,
guests.
it's okay.
This
I
is
don't
for
play
blood.
nice. I don't play
Yeah,
nice.
you gotta hold that title belt.
Yeah, for sure. Well, this was a fun time, guys. I really enjoyed this. You were a great guest, Brian, and
Oh, thank
we
you.
may ask you to come on again because I don't know
Yeah.
how long Kyle is going to be out for. We do miss him, but we will see
Yeah.
everybody hopefully next week or the week after. We'll see. I'll keep you updated in Discord. So thanks for joining us today. I will. We'll see you next time.
Bye.